Hail, glorious listeners! We come back to you again at the turning of the tide. I'm going to say that. I'm going to go with that. It's actually for the second time. We're hoping that Ben's computer continues to work and the machine spirit stays with us, unlike last time. No, it is not.
It's not
absolutely
guaranteed.
not. Got to get the right blessings and appropriate oils. Maybe the beard oil, Ben. Try some of that. Beard oil. Yeah, on the computer.
Beard oil.
Swatch it on.
Yeah,
absolutely.
On a laptop, that could.
So, guys, loads of awesome stuff has been going on in the hobby over the last month. I'm really sorry, but Ben has some opinions on it. Sorry about that. But I'll try and intersperse that with some common sense from me. Yeah. On the hobby desk, obviously, massive new range of paints now. That's gone on to be demoed today. On Saturday gone when you're listening to this. No, we haven't.
We haven't really talked about them on the cast, have we? I mean, we've talked about. I was just going to say we talked about them, us and the guys after Warrenfest. But
the last time we discussed what it might be, we were just guessing. So yeah, we got that to talk about. Then it's into the Galaxy of War, and again, I've managed to fill an A4 page with the stuff that's come out over the last month or been mentioned over the last month. So our thoughts on a lot of that. Into the Mortal Realms. Now, Ben was going to do that, but he hasn't. In a really strange role reversal, because normally it's me who's not organised at all. So I don't know. Maybe next time you see us, Ben will be. Well,
thanks for highlighting that.
That's fine. I'm actually thinking, next time maybe you will be clean shaven and I will have the beard. That's if I could grow a beard like yours in like impressive. 10 years, mate, I'll be surprised. But anyway, moving away from beards and into the community section is our usual stuff with a special edition this month. Coming to you with a groundbreaking new podcast idea, a review of a pudding. If you've got no idea what we're talking about, neither do we. But if you check out our friends over at Heralds of War and a bit of a Twitter conversation, that's where that's come from. So bear with us. And then lastly, what is it this week? Oh, it's Lord of the Rings. We're going to talk about hobbit holes.
Lord of the Rings.
Take that as you will.
AVG has just come up with a message that says, your PC suffers from clutter and slowdown. Well,
surprise. Well, your PC is coming out with groundbreaking comments like that, let's go on to the hobby desk.
Hi guys, and welcome to episode 44's Hobby Desk. We have got an absolute metric ton of stuff to talk about, because, Dan's actually done hobby, and I've had a month to do hobby, and we've got a whole new product range of hobby. So, where do we want to start?
Well, I think they should start by grabbing their refreshments if they're planning to listen to all of that.
Yep, I think that's probably a good idea. Yeah. I don't actually have any. I'm quite gutted by this. I've got in such a rush to come and do the podcast and got overexcited that I have no refreshments.
Oh, Joe needs to sort herself out, I think.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Let's start with me, because as you're not
Please don't let
forward,
her listen to that.
I'm going to play her it back, mate. I'm going to edit it out and give it to her to listen to. And you can face the consequences. Where did I have been painting goblins?
Yeah,
it's lots and lots of goblins. So what did the last thing I did before we came? So I suppose let's work back. So I've just finished destroying myself, redoing 52 goblins. If anyone can remember, it must be nearly 2 years ago now, nearly.
Yes, yeah.
I sat down and painted the 50 goblins from Skull Pass, and I did them relatively quickly, left a lot of highlighting off, and did them with black and yellow shields. So when I came to do like, to do them again, because obviously I need them as infantry in the army. They would look weird, them not being sort of in keeping colourwise. So I had to redo all the shields. Realised I needed to do at least 2 more stages of highlighting on the skin. A bit of extra highlighting on all the brown cloaks, and more highlighting on the red spears and silver sort of metally bits. And oh my days, and rebase them. Oh, rebasing them. If I never see a skull pass goblin again, it will be too soon.
The best bit is, I've been ringing you up most evenings, because I've been hobbying, and I'm like, what are you doing, Ben? Goblins. Next day. What are you doing, Ben? Goblins.
Yeah.
Next day. What are you doing? Is it goblins? Yeah, it's goblins. So yeah, it's just goblins.
It's
Mate,
it's got me to thinking,
I have
though.
to shout out to some dedication of mine. Because you've sat at that table and painted goblins for hours this week.
Yeah. It took a lot longer than I thought it would. I suppose the thing is with my goblin army is they ended up not being at all what I wanted them to be. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but when I was thinking about a goblin army, I was always thinking about, I'll do the characters nicely and then everything else can be batch painted. And then the guys from the design team released Gloomspike kits, and you just can't not paint them well. I find that they just wanted me to paint them to like a higher standard. I had to hold myself back with every unit from going a little bit extra and a little bit extra and a little bit extra. And as a result, I've ended up looking at these 50 goblins and thinking they're just rubbish. They just looked awful. You know, the skin was nowhere near the same colour as everything else's. The cloaks just looked a bit... But then even then, when I'd done that, I was doing stupid things. Like I thought, oh, well, those fingernails could do with being painted. And it was only when I was on like the 10th one painting their fingernails, I thought, what are you doing? There's 52 of them, you moron. Painful.
It's a lot of fingernails, isn't it?
Yep. And then I thought, the eyes aren't bright enough, so I put on a little bit of extra brightness. And of course, that's 104 eyes.
Done now, though, aren't they?
Well, they're done. Yeah, they are done, and I'm very happy that they're done, and I'm very happy with how they look. I think they fit in well with the army, and they give that kind of what the army was missing at the moment was a bit of kind of carpet troops. The floor covering.
Yeah,
it was all the good units and like the nice elite units, but I hadn't really set to doing the other stuff.
Yeah.
It has got me thinking about, because one of the things I've been thinking a lot about, because I've been doing it at work, is the effect of sitting for long periods of time on health, essentially. And if listeners can remember, I was really quite poorly before Christmas with pneumonia, and I hadn't exercised for 2 months because my lungs hurt to do it. So you get lazy. I ended up watching like television for day on day, and so I got really unfit. And I've been thinking a lot about getting fitter and losing the weight that I've been carrying. But really this week has made me think about, crikey, there's long hours of sitting at the desk and working. My eyes got tired. I could barely focus on a model because I've been trying to burn the candle at both ends, and that didn't work. And my arms started to ache and my rotator cuff muscles because I've been painting for so long. It really got me to thinking about how the guys who do this professionally, maintain their own personal health while they're doing it. Because if you're a heavy metal painter or a commission painter, you could be sat. This is what you do as a job. It's 8 hours a day, maybe more if you're trying to catch up or do something. Sat painting it. I'd be really interested to hear from anyone who listens who is a professional painter, how they manage to not ache across their entire shoulder and back, and the eyes just give up focusing, because I painted a lot more this week than I normally would, and I'm gotta say I'm quite uncomfortable today, in my neck and shoulders. So I'm just interested, and I have been thinking now. We've talked to you a little bit about this, Dan, about talking about more about health when it comes to hobbying, because it is really easy to sit for hours on end doing what we do as a hobby. And, the increase in health problems doing that is quite profound, really. But that's for another day. So I was really happy to get those done. I've now started on the archers and the fanatics and the netters, and I'm doing them all at once, which is another 30 goblins.
Oh my goodness! But these are these from fresh?
Yep, I've got them base coated and white. They were washed last night. Okay. So they've come quite a long way along. It shouldn't take me too long, touch wood, to finish them. But I think that would be really happy with that, because that will be like the bulk of the bulk of the troops done. And if I wanted to add a box or more more goblins, then I could. But I can't see myself needing more than 2 units of 30 goblin spearmen personally. But
not unless you wanted to do something particular, like a massive horde of them or whatever.
But even then, if I did another one, I'd do them one unit at a time, which wouldn't be quite so painful.
No.
Other things I've done the trolls, which I was really chuffed with. I love the old trolls, like genuinely love them. I think that the classic stone troll is one of, for me, the quintessential Games Workshop models.
Mm.
The faces, the proportions, the attention to detail. There's so much going on with them. They're just fantastic miniatures, and they have aged really rather well. I think when you put them in the army, they don't look out of place. I don't know what they look like against the new rock guts, because I haven't actually bought any of them. But we'll see. I also did 2 of the sour breath, sort of 3 of the stone trolls, 2 sour breath, and Mollog. Mollog was an absolute treat, dude. That is one cracking model. And it was really cool painting Mollog alongside the plastic stone troll from Skull Pass.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember when we released Skull Pass, everyone was like, oh, it's a plastic troll. Oh, wow, it's a plastic troll. It is in the starters kit, and look, it's a plastic troll. And that was one of the big selling points. And when you put it next to Mollog, which is essentially the same kind of troll, it's a push-fit, easy build troll, plastic troll, the difference is just insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Like, the amount of extra quality in every bit of the finish is just ridiculous. It's a really good, look how far we've come in plastics kind of miniature comparison. And the other thing I've done is Zarbag's Gits.
Oh, yes.
So that's my
you
my
loved
month.
them, didn't you? Is it?
Oh,
no, hang on. Yeah, you did love them, but also I was actually in my head. I was thinking about the squigs from Mollog's group.
Oh, they're still some of my favourite models to paint, because they're so small and so full of character that you can lavish a little bit of extra time into them because they're smaller and get a really good result. And I just love the character of them. I think they're fantastic, especially the Stalag squig.
I know. I think that's my favourite as well.
I love it. Absolutely love it. I think I might have done. Well, I know I've done the OSL a bit bright. I was trying to get him to look like he was having a proper fairy and lighting the way, and I got overexcited and painted it so bright it looks like a plasma engine.
Plasma fairies, yes.
Which looks a lot brighter in the photographs than it does in real life, but even then I think I might have. But I'm not going to go back and redo it. I refuse to.
No,
I hate doing things twice. So that's been my month. Been fairly active, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. And now,
and your giant. You didn't talk about.
Oh yes, the giant. Yeah, the giant
with the bruises.
That's a lot. The bruises, dude. That was so much fun, and came out of an accident. So that model, I really don't know what went wrong with it, to be honest. But I built it when the giant was released because, as anyone who's worked in Games Workshop will know, especially back then, if there was a new release and it was like a big push, Games Workshop often said, have one, but the payoff is that you have to paint it, model it, and put it up in the store so people can see it. Quite often do that with starters kits.
Yes.
With the Giant, I can't remember whether we were given one to play with or whether I bought one. I think I bought it and converted it, some minor stuff, sculpted some hair onto it, and undercoated it, and have never looked at it since, because life takes you on different routes. So I brushed it down, cleaned off the millions of mould lines that I'd missed 12 years ago, 13 years ago, who I would quite happily go back and slap, because some of the models I'm coming back to have been very badly cleaned up. And, yeah, and I did clean it, but for some reason, the paint just was falling off of it. I'd touch it, and like a lump of the skin tone, because I airbrushed it, would just come away. I just couldn't understand it. I guess that the primer, something had got onto the primer over the years, and I hadn't seen it when I cleaned it down. But from now on, I'm either going to reprime models, or I'm going to get them in a bowl of hot soapy water and give them a good scrub before I start painting them, because
those bruises, nothing worse than putting that effort in and then that happens.
Ended up being a way to sort of patch the bits of skin where I'd had a problem with and had to paint over, because they looked really obvious where I'd airbrushed everything else. That's what that was. I'd also tried the idea of using like scratching techniques to create cuts, which worked quite well, I thought. Like a lighter line underneath and the red line for the cut. I was quite surprised by how well that worked, actually.
Oh, good.
So that's me. So how about you?
So I have been, most people will know by now, because I did put it on Facebook, but baby Hannah Elizabeth Jolly arrived. So, about middle of the month, 16th of May, she arrived. So she very, very kindly held on, until 3 days after Warhammer Fest, which was excellent. She gets kudos points for that. Or 3 or 4 days. Anyway, some
Thursday.
days. Yeah, it was Thursday, wasn't it? So that was great. And what that's meant is I have been off work, and the Joshua has still been going to nursery. So I've actually had a bit of time to do some hobby, and I've got stuck in and decided to just build anything I could reach from my chair, pretty much. So I've built a whole bunch of towel. I've built some knights for Titanicus. I've built a Reaver. I've built a couple of Warhounds. I've built 20 Blood Reavers. I've built all 30 of my Necromunda gang. I've built the Orc cheerleaders. I've built the couple of Lord of the Rings characters. I will say, actually, Gore Halfhorn as well, that I love it when you get a Forge World miniature that's like part of the initial batch, because the quality is just excellent, with very little mould slippage. So I quite enjoyed that, really, because there's very little cleaning up and stuff to do on those models.
Which ones?
On the cheerleader women and the Gothmog's Enforcer and Gurix.
Yeah.
Because I got them. I know that, like, I bought them almost straight away.
Yeah.
So, Ben Chambers got me the Enforcer, but very quickly after their release. So you're on one of the initial ones. So that's good. So lots and lots of building going on. And I finished my Venom Crawler. That's the noise it makes as it comes across the table. So,
is it?
Yeah. Like that. Just like that. So that was, I was so happy to get that done, dude. And, it's the first unit, because I did do I nearly said spells. That's funny, isn't it? The judgments and the skull tower. I know. The wizard's tower and the spells for my corn, I did do in my sort of new concept scheme. But this was the first unit I did it. So this is where basically I've moved across to airbrushing the armor panels, and basically taking each of the colours a step lighter than I normally do, and then applying a 50-50 Agrax with a airbrush thinner over everything, rather than a solid Agrax and then building everything back up with a brush. And that has significantly improved the speed at which I can paint these things. So although the Venom Crawler has been on the table for quite a while, that's not because it takes ages to paint. It's just I wasn't painting it. So really pleased to have done that. Got him finished off. And I've painted a single Tau Fire Warrior, dude.
Yeah, and very nice it is too.
A Breacher. Thank you. Yeah, so he's from the Viola Sept. So he's white, with a bit of red and some weathering. I'm really pleased with him. Painted him up yesterday evening. Took a little longer because I was...
It's a test one. Test one takes
It was a test one, so it took a little bit of time. And like, I will change the order I paint things in. I got a bit carried away. I forgot to put the transfers on early on in the piece. And then I put the gloss varnish on too soon. So then it was a bugger to paint over it. But he got there in the end. Redid his base because I didn't like it. It was too plain. Because I'm trying to get it to tie in. I've got a Barren Wastelands mat from the Fat Mats.
Yeah, it's lovely, that.
Yeah, I really like it. But so I'm trying to get an army that will blend in with that. And then I'm hoping to get some of the Sector Frontieris terrain to put on that. Although I did also see I'd completely forgotten that Micro Art Studios make what they call Tau Ceti terrain, and it is essentially Tau, hard foam Tau terrain, and it's excellent.
Yeah. There's also the Games Workshop Tau terrain, which isn't too bad.
Yeah, I think the issue with that is, like, it's nice. I mean, you put it in your army, it's fortifications. But it's almost not smooth enough. There's too many panels for me.
Okay.
But that's personal preference.
There's that
cool.
wicked White Dwarf army on making your own Tau stuff. You could try that.
There was that, yeah. Yeah, so plenty of options anyway. So I need to try and get that unit finished now, I suppose, that guy belongs to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which would be great.
I'm really excited about, like, two of the things that you've just spoken about. So I think it's really cool that you're doing Tau, because I think it's a totally different colour scheme from what you normally do. So I'm really excited to see that coming alive, really. And you've been really energetic about it, which is a pretty positive sign. Mm-hmm. One thing I would like to just sort of go back and talk about a bit more is your Chaos Dude, because I personally think your Venom Crawler looks better than your Forge Fiend by like quite a significant margin, actually. There is a difference in style, because where you've airbrushed it, you end up with the highlight in the middle of the panel, which I think is more natural than the way you've done your Forge Fiend, which is the sort of quote unquote heavy metal style. Yeah. You know, with the sort of fine lines right up against the against the golden irritating trim that I absolutely hate. It's just there to slow you down. Yeah. but I do think it looks a lot better. I really do. And I'm so pleased that it's faster, because you'll crash through a lot of that stuff now. What I'm interested to see is how that transfers across to your infantry. Yeah, so the challenge that I face with the infantry it's just about brush skill and practice, is I'm using the Vallejo gold range, the liquid gold range, red gold, to do the armor trim now, which is just incredible. But
you need to use a synthetic brush for it, and it's hard. I'm finding it harder to control on the model than normal paint. So being able to paint the detail, because one of the things that makes painting quicker is not making errors along the way.
Yep.
I can remember when I was younger, having you do a colour, then you go and tidy it up, and then you do another colour, and then you tidy that one up, and so on and so forth. So that's just something to get used to, really.
Would it be easier to airbrush the whole thing gold with that stuff, and then paint the panels in and paint everything else in?
Possibly.
And then hit up the other areas with your colours through the airbrush.
Yeah, quite possibly. Although what I tend to do is with the Venom Crawler, I airbrushed all the red, most of the silver.
Of course, it's the actual the red has been done by highlighting with the airbrush, isn't it? Okay, yeah. Scratch that. That's me not thinking it through.
So, yeah, it's been quite exciting, really. I need to play some games. I have played Dan Wasley the other day, which was a good game against his Wanderers. And I have played some Necromunda as well, which was good. But I'm really looking forward to playing some Kill Team with Ben once we both got our Kill Teams ready. I'm already so the Tau project was part of the slow grow thing with Ben.
Yeah.
And my brain has already gone, right, the Tau, my apocalypse army. So, yeah.
Maybe in a year's time, after you've slow grown it to that scale, Dan.
Yeah, I'm not sure slow growing to like 6,000 points in a year is going to be counted as slow, is it really? But
no. Mind you, you've got some whopping great units in that army. So
3
Riptides would
that's
do.
what I want.
Yeah, you
those
could
big stompy robots.
Yeah. I mean, you could very easily fill up like points with just whopping great robot dudes. And if you're struggling, buy the Manta from Forge World.
They don't make it anymore, dude.
Well, you don't need to buy it from Forge World. I don't blame them for not making it. I mean, what a completely ridiculous model. I mean, I can't imagine anyone buying it, but somebody must have done. Didn't you get all like the plastic towel to go in it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Crikey. You could use it as a surfboard. You could bodyboard with it down around in cool.
Definitely a bodyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and of course, I have spent an inordinate amount of time tidying.
Sorting. Every time you phone me, tidying this, sorting out. Counters have been sorted into mini counter boxes with lots of compartments that have been sorted into larger boxes with more compartments. It's like, look at that.
It's so true, but I love it. I absolutely love it. I just like being able to sit in my chair and grab everything I need. And I also do not like Chris turned up the other day to play Necromunda. And it took me 20 minutes to gather up the various bits and bobs from around the room.
Oh, yeah, that's really irritating, especially when you don't have time as it is.
Well, that's it. So now I've got a box with all my Necromunda, and I found a really useful box size that fits the Necromunda cards in the Necromunda sleeves. So I was like, yes.
Love it. I had forgotten about today's hobby, Dan.
Of course.
I spent the whole day hobbying with Tristan and Elowen. Elowen, we've spoken about this before, about how, getting models for kids that, you don't mind them dying, and paints that are just usable by them. So Elowen has, for the last 2 years, repainted and repainted and repainted and repainted the same plastic farm animals, in various different poster paints, which then quite handily, you can stick them in a bowl of hot water and it all comes off.
Yeah.
She loves it. She sits at the table and does it, and it's teaching her brush control and all those things. So, for a really little one, I would highly recommend poster paints and farm animals primed, because, it's cracking. Tristan has painted those Chaos Cultists you got him for Christmas.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, Flat did them in Deathworld Green? Something like that. That one. The one I use for my goblins. Death Forest, I think it is. And then Spot picked out the colours in bright red, moot green, all the sort of colours you would expect on a Chaos Cultist.
That's excellent. I hope there was some red on there.
Yes, the strap holding the metal ball got painted red. And I said, why are you painting that red? He goes, well, string can be any colour, Daddy, and I want it to be red. I was like, well, that's fair enough. You can't argue with that, can you?
Yeah. The fact that he calls it string,
yeah,
I suppose,
that's great, isn't it?
Yeah, that's excellent. I know it's not strictly true because I'm thinking more of wool, but it just puts me in mind of them doing some knitting when they're having downtime. knitting like chaos like jumpers.
But like the fight scene from Kill Bill against what's the number 70 something, and the girl with the spinny ball thing that just absolutely annihilates the whole room. That's what I thought of.
Yeah.
And then we did something cool. So this is actually going back to the Scrooby and Wells podcast I listen to every now and again. And a year ago or so, I think they were talking about how Lego is like the absolute benchmark toy. And any company interested in toys could learn a lot by looking at Lego, really, and having a think about it. I think one of the reasons, they highlighted, one of the reasons why it's so popular is that kids can literally just do what they want with it.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, because Tristan absolutely adores Lego. It's everywhere in my house. It's like a battlefield of Lego. And those memes where fathers are standing on bits of Lego and trying not to scream out at the top of their lungs, that's me every day. So what I did was, do you remember that old Space Hulk diorama that we bought? I don't know whether you were with us at the time. Built for Games Workshop Plymouth?
Yeah. You were working on it just before I joined, I think.
Well, that was lined with all the old kind of scenery bits. And when it got chucked out, because it was quite a big project, it took up so much of the window, it was, it kind of needed to go in the end.
The sun couldn't get in.
No, it couldn't. But what it was like a cabinet with like layers where we built each layer to be like a floor in a Space Hulk. So there was all sorts of stuff going on there. It was really quite cool. But it was all kind of cladded in the old scenery. I say old, but it was current up until not that long ago.
Yeah.
And, so when we chucked it all out, I just stripped all the scenery bits out of it because I thought, well, they might be useful. And, everyone in the store was like, you'll never make anything of that. We'll just chuck it in the bin. But I thought, no, stubborn as I am. No, I will. Of course, they went in a box.
I will reforge it.
And they never got used.
No. Well, until
today. And I chucked it all on the table and said, right, Tristan, we're going to build a building. And you get to choose how you make it. And here's all the bits. And he designed and then didn't clean up. I had to do the cleaning up, but did a lot of the sticking.
Oh my goodness. I have to interrupt you. Yesterday, Dan Wasley came and he actually cleaned up after himself before he left.
Well, that is a miracle. That was worth interrupting us for.
I know. Actually. Well, you said clean up and it reminded me.
Goodness me.
I know. Anyway, so do carry on.
Yeah, so I had to clean up all the bits because I had to use the X-Acto to do it. And we built this building and I'm really chuffed with it, actually. Really super chuffed with it. I've had to use bits of white plastic card for flooring because I think that those things need flooring to sort of make them make sense. And we've done internal walls and there's a door half open and yeah, I'm really happy with it. He's put a servant's door in for staff. He's like, that's a staff door, Dad. And I was like, well, what's the staff going to do? He's like, well, it's the library, isn't it? So there needs a door for the staff to come in. I was like, oh, okay. Fair enough.
Excellent. I love that. He's generating the backstory already.
Yeah,
next he'll be like writing up the librarians as NPCs.
Yeah, that'd be quite cool.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, and then we went through the whole conversation about. Well, Ellen was like, "You need to put a staircase in there," and I was like, "Wow, that is a very good idea. If only Games Workshop made a staircase." Hint, 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 hint. Right. Should we have a little quick chat about the contrast paints?
Yeah, let's go for it. I was just thinking it must be time to chat about they.
So, it's been a month since they were sort of dropped on us, and it's been an interesting kind of month, I think. There's a lot of people have had a lot of things to say on them, and certainly the video that I recorded had a surprising amount of hits. Really didn't expect that many people to watch it, but they have. It was quite a lot in the end. It was the highest watched contrast video for a week. Which is quite stunning considering how badly filmed it was. But there we go. A lot of the comments on there I felt reflected what has been the comments of the month, which is, oh, they're just like washes, oh, they're just like this. At the end of the day, they're out now, essentially. You know, you can go to Games Workshop and have a go with them. And anyone who's got doubts about them, that's what I would suggest you do, because it's not that these are going to be for everyone. You know, because some people will prefer their way of painting. This is my personal view. Some people will prefer their way of painting, and won't see a use for them in their techniques, and that's completely fine. There's no they're not reducing the other paints. They're not getting rid of all the other traditional stuff. They're all still there. The contrast is just another tool in the box, and if you want to have a look to see whether they are different from washes, they are absolutely different from washes. They're completely different. They are more akin to oil paints, but acrylic. Really high pigment, really viscous, and quite slow moving on the model. So they will sit where you put them. They won't flow all over the place ridiculously. So they are different. So I would suggest you go and have a go. I've been really interested seeing what some of the really good painters have been doing with them. Particularly Richard Gray has released a couple of bits, models that he's done. A simple, I'm trying to remember, I think it was a blood angel, and a troll. Fantastic. But then you could argue it's Richard Gray using them, so of course they're going to look fantastic. But what's interesting about those things is that they look like Richard Gray's models.
Yes.
And I think that was really one of my biggest concerns when I was looking at them, is that all of the models in the cabinets that they had at Games Workshop looked okay, looked like army level, like tabletop standard, and they were doing what everyone was saying they were doing. They're going to get your models on the table, but they had a really distinct kind of contrast style to them. And I was worried that it was going to remove one of the biggest things in painting, which is personal style. So everyone has their own kind of unique way of painting a model. And if you look at different painters, I can almost now tell who's painted it just by looking at it. For the really famous painters. And Richards has got such a characteristic style that I was really pleased to see that even his basic Blood Angel looked like a Richard Gray model. Yes. I was really happy to see that.
It did.
And the Troll, where he'd done extra stuff, even more so. So that's one thing I'm really happy about. And all the other things quite cool is watching other people find different uses for them, like lining in, using them for weathering, all sorts of stuff. So I'm really excited about them. I think, and I know I'm having a bit of a diatribe here, Dan, but just jump in any time you want to say anything. But I think people will find uses for them in different ways. I think for what they're supposed to do, which is for a very basic, get your model on the table quickly paint, especially for beginners, I think these are going to be an absolute game changer. For the more experienced painters, I think, like I said, I think they'll find a use for them. I really, really do. And because what I've been doing today with the kids is speed painting Chaos Cultists. It's left a filthy taste in my mouth. But no, as a joke, what I was doing with them was I painted them all brown. I've dry brushed them up a couple of stages, and then now I'm picking out the flesh, and I'm picking out this, and I'm picking out that. And I was thinking, literally while I was doing it, I could totally use a contrast paint for this bit and that bit. And now I've done the sort of the dry brush starting bit. I could pick out bits with the base coat and then just whack on the contrast paint, and that would be done. So I can see how I will be using them. and I'm really excited to get my hands on them. That's my diatribe, but I know you've had a little bit of an extra shot with them today, Dan.
Yeah, so I went into Games Workshop Cribs today. I've intended all along to buy the whole range. I even, when I was doing my aforementioned sorting, made a space for them, with holes for 34 paints. And I got the chance to have a go, and I tried out, a couple of the reds that I'd not tried, the ultramarine blue. What else did I try? Snakebite leather.
I love the fact it's called snakebite leather.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to see some of the old colour names back, isn't it?
Yeah.
Blood Angel's red and Ultramarine's blue, and it's like you say, snakebite leather. So that's good. Ultimately, I didn't order any, and I think a lot of that is because I know you said like they are in essence they are out there now, but I think the next step is for them to be in people's hands with the medium, which seems to be like mystical in that nobody's allowed to try it. I imagine that's because it would just get polluted straight away if it was part of a demo set.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it? So, yeah, getting that contrast medium and sort of experimenting, because what I have noted, in a lot of the examples that are done not at the super painter level, is a very blotchy finish, which I don't, obviously, I basically it looks like someone's thinned their paint and put one coat on, and not gone in with the second. Now, it's important, like you said, mate, everybody has their hobby. I think for me, going through my hobby journey, the barrier wasn't so much the time it took to paint. It was more about getting the results I wanted.
In the time you had to paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even just being able to do it. Within the area, within the window of motivation that I had to paint, I suppose. And to that end, the contrast range doesn't solve that issue for me, because actually the finished product isn't at a level that I would say, yes, I'm happy to call that done. However, that doesn't mean I don't think that they are going to have a place. I don't think I'm going to be painting whole models with them, or switching over to that method. But I think there is going to be some. I'm basically looking at the browns, and I think things like leather straps and stuff like that would be really good. The flesh, I've seen loads of great examples of flesh, and I think anything that's not a flat armor panel really is going to be really good for.
Yeah.
But I do. Yeah. I am at the point now where I just want a couple of them, and I want a bit of the medium, and I want to try a few things out. Because
I think the flat panel thing with the blotching on, I think the medium will solve that quite a lot. But I also think that that's probably got a lot to do with how it's applied.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a learning curve with how it's applied.
Yeah.
And making sure that the surface isn't just whacked on and then let to dry. I think if you managed it on the surface and got it just right before you let it dry, I think that would make a difference. That's my thought.
Yeah, but it can't be too much work, because otherwise it sort of goes against its purpose.
I think even if you managed it for like an extra 20 seconds on a Space Marine dude, or even an extra minute, you're still significantly saving time over having to base coat the whole thing and then do the first stage of highlights.
Oh yeah, I mean the coverage is good anyway.
Yeah.
The coverage is good anyway. I know Dan Mosley had a great time with it. He loved what he'd done, and it did look very good. So
he did a white marine, didn't he? It really was quite impressed by that, actually.
Yeah. So, but they're out there, along with a load of other new paints as well that have appeared, that are rejoining us from Forge World.
The whole Forge World range, which is awesome.
Yeah.
My bank account is crying.
It'll be really interesting to see what people do with the contrast paints now that they're out there.
Yes.
And what people do with them that aren't like super awesome painters.
And also, isn't the prescribed Games Workshop way of using them?
Yeah. And that's not to take away. I mean, I have really enjoyed seeing like what Andy had done and what Henry had done and what Richard had done, and that's great. However, if it's a product that requires the brush skills level of those sort of guys, then it's not going to be something I'm going to be able to use.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is. At the end of the day, they wouldn't have invested all this time and effort into something unless they were confident in it. Interestingly, 5 of them have sold out already.
Yeah.
The black had sold out before lunchtime because I went into Cribs for about 11:15 and it was gone. Although my understanding is that the stores will be getting some stock on the day. So if you are wanting them, get down to the stores for when they open. I would suggest.
You'll need chainmail, a helmet, a stick, and a shield.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's contrast. Unsurprisingly, not quite sure. And I say unsurprisingly because I haven't actually got it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is mental. It is mental. I was surprised at my change in opinion, but I shouldn't be really, because ultimately I haven't got the product to try, have I? Having a little go at it on a painting table in a Games Workshop, and I still think in Warhammer Fest I don't know. I don't think the demo was the opportunity you got to try them out. A Plague Bearer is a miniature that would traditionally be painted quite quickly anyway. Well, not
that's very true.
What is it? A plague, whatever they were called.
Zombie.
No, it's not even that, is it? Poxwalker. That's it.
It's a zombie.
Zombie, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not, yeah. I think you're in the same place
I'm looking forward to them coming out. Yeah. Although, in variation to many people you see on the internet, I actually have the ability to critically analyse my thought process and understand why it's where it is, and not just go blah.
Well, that's completely unfair, but no, it's not at all. Having read our YouTube comments. Right, coming up to 3/4 of an hour of banging on about paints and hobby. Shall we move ourselves over to Galaxy of War, Mr. Jolly?
The Galaxy of War.
I'm going to send that to X Factor.
Good work. Imagine a drop pod assault on X Factor.
Oh, God. Imagine it. I'd be there with popcorn.
Right. So the Galaxy of War. Are you oppressed by a crazy imperial regime? Join the greater good today for cool, awesome, curvy buildings. Welcome, listeners, to the Galaxy of War.
Huzzah!
Huzzah!
I don't think I've ever said huzzah.
Less skulls today, less skulls.
Yeah, well, it's about time there was less skulls.
Except for Space Wolf skulls. Can't have enough of that. So, I have written a mighty long list, which I'll just get, causing a load of background noise that'll be hard to edit because I'm talking over it.
Thanks, Dan.
So, a load of stuff has come out in the Galaxy of War since we last spoke, Ben, or has been teased. So, we shall start... Where shall we start? Let's start with Necromunda. So, the Book of Peril has arrived.
And that's a cracking book.
It is a cracking book. Chris is incredibly excited. I get regular text updates about how awesome or scary the latest thing that he's read is. There's rules in there for things falling down, like whole hive domes that you're fighting in, falling on your head.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's proper old school. It really is. It's really good. Loving it.
Cal Jericho and Scabs. are in there.
Spelt in which way?
Well, indeed, that's for you to decide. It's all about giving people options, dude. All about giving people options.
I'm sure they've never written their name anywhere. So.
No, indeed. Interesting things that are not in there. So enforcers are not in that book.
Really?
And the headsman.
That is really surprising.
So there's clearly another book on the way. With that information. Yeah. So that must be on its way. So that's that. And a bunch of cards came out alongside that. And the card sleeves, which made me very excited with my organising. I do like a good card sleeve. Especially when the cards are not standard size.
Yes.
So that's fun.
But talking about card sleeves, they've stopped the Blood Bowl card sleeves.
I know.
So they will do the same with Necromunda.
I know.
Almost certainly. So if you want card sleeves for Necromunda that fit the cards, because their cards are not the normal size, then buy them now before they go, because I really want the Blood Bowl ones and they're not around anymore.
I know. I really want the Blood Bowl ones as well, but hey ho. That's something we can ask about at the next Warhammer Fest.
We can heckle from the back.
About
card sleeves!
Yeah, card sleeves, and then somebody else will be like, Tomb Kings! Oh my goodness. So, we mentioned them briefly. The Palatine Enforcers, Ben. What do you think of those, dude?
Oh, they're a bit rubbish, really.
I think they'll make great. In fact, somebody even did it with Photoshop. Ultramarine Home Guard, like.
I think they will make great almost anything in the Imperium, apart from Space Marines. In fact, scratch that. There are bits about them which I would use as a Space Marine. They're just fantastic. I think they're absolutely brilliant. I'm really chuffed with them. So excited to see such another different sort of armour for 40k. Sort of, yeah, love it. It's not unreasonable to do a whole guard army out of them, is it?
Well, no. I mean, that's what you said to me the other day you wanted to do.
Yes. Well, at least a whole, platoon. At least, 30 of them.
It is exciting, and it's just, they're a great thing as well. Chris and I were talking, a narrative, they're a great tool in a narrative campaign.
Yeah.
So, you can get one or two and have them guarding certain points and things like that.
Yeah.
Just to add some interest.
I had this mental image of a trading camp, outpost, with them dotted around all over the place, with a mission to, one of the chest missions where you have to go to the chests and open them.
Yeah.
And you have to do it without raising the alarm from these enforcers, and it would all kick off.
That would be ace. That would be really ace. We're actually teeing up to start our Necromunda campaign towards the end of this month.
Well, you've got enough put together now.
Well, I have, yes. I could do with painting some, but contrast is coming for that. So,
well, that's a good point. They would be quite good for contrast, wouldn't they?
Yeah, well, that's why I'm getting the browns, and I think it's ultramarine blue is the blue that matches Cantor blue quite closely. So yeah,
sounded like a Skeksis then.
Done. Sorry?
I sounded like a Skeksis then.
Yeah, so that's quite cool. Some good stuff for Necromunda. Moving on to kill team then. So there's been some new kill teams for Orcs, Death Guard, and Thousand Suns, alongside elites that we've already spoken about. New Killzone Sanctus environment, which we were saying, despite the contents looking cool, there seems to be a distinct lack of volume to the contents compared to previous Killzones. So whether that's a sign that the previous ones were perhaps a little bit too much. But I mean,
think that's a crying shame. Personally, yeah. I do. I really do, because I think those kill zones were, because of the amount you got in them, were attractive to everyone who wasn't playing Killzone. with a kill team. But I love that Sanctus scenery, and as soon as I saw the box art, I was like, oh, yes, that's going to be awesome. I can get my hands on not a great deal more for my money.
Yeah. But then I suppose when you are, as a company, struggling to create enough stock to keep everybody happy, doing bundle deals where they can buy more stock for less money is probably not very sensible.
To fuel the conspiracy theories.
Well, no, it's not a conspiracy theory; it's sense.
I know, I know.
Anyway, moving on. Sorry, I'm eating what even are these things? A miniature starburst to give myself some sugar. So, books, we've had Angron, the Primarch novel, which I have got and I've started reading. But the trouble is, I've started reading it, man, and Angron's just a douche.
Well, he is a douche.
Oh, it's so frustrating. I didn't know, though, this I thought was quite cool. The World Eaters in battle in the Heresy just walked to their enemy. And just like normal Vox communication, they didn't charge at any point, they just walked there. And it was like a psychological thing. Because like the enemy would be like shooting them and going crazy, and they'd just be walking along.
I did not know that, and that is really awesome.
Yeah. So that was quite cool to read. But I do need to read it all, because, you know, you shouldn't really judge a book by the opening bits and bobs, but I just think he's just a petulant kid, isn't he?
Yes.
And the whole butcher's nails thing, it's just a whole load of stupidity, which is very frustrating. So,
and
although what is
accurate.
Cool, what is cool is there are some captains in there from like Terra and things, and they're looking at things in different ways. So that's quite nice. So I do need to finish that off. Awesome piece of art on the front.
Yeah, it really is.
I like that a lot. So yeah, that's good. And Spears of the Emperor, which came out as a limited edition, one of the most awesome limited edition things I've ever seen, including transfers and purity seals and all sorts.
And a background book.
Is now available in hardback. So that might be worth reading, because it's Aaron Dempsey Bowden and they're usually worth reading.
I've not read something that he has written that I've not liked.
No, so. Indeed. Yeah, it's very good. Very good. So we've had, I'm sorry, we're kind of whizzing through it just to cover bits and pieces off. But FAQ, we had an addendum about the FAQ. So we had the sort of twice a year big review. And then following that, some stuff's come out around stratagems and just clarifying those, which I suppose is fair enough, because they sort of interact all over the game, don't they? In all different phases and break things. And so I think that's fair enough. And then the Tau, the Death Watch and the Space Wolves have had a couple of updates.
I totally missed the Space Wolves had an update. I haven't even read that. No,
and I thought I could read it, but I don't really care about them, so I didn't. And I did have a brief look at the Tau, but because I'm not playing with them yet, it didn't really mean much to me.
No.
So yeah, there's that on there for anyone that's not seen that. A Battle Sister Bulletin, the Retributors, dude. Let's talk a bit about the Battle Sisters and what we've seen so far.
I think that's a really good. I'm so happy. Because there's an element, I don't even know why there's an element of nervousness, because when you think about the guys that are in that design studio, they're just superb. But there is a level of apprehension when you hear, and it's probably the first time in fairness that we have heard before they even really started doing it, apparently, that they're going to do it. So as soon as they said, they're going to redo the sisters, there's so much emotive, connection between a lot of hobbyists and those models and where they wanted them to be and what they wanted the new ones to look like. When they dropped like Darren Latham's special, well, the one that's based on the artwork by Karl Koplinski. And Karl Koplinski is one of my all-time favourite artists, not just for 40k, for Games Workshop, but his other work too, on faces and characters. It's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That model was just stunning. It captured everything about that piece of art perfectly. And now they've shown the Retribute. I'm just so happy. I'm going to be really struggling not to do a goblins with the sisters. And spend like a whole year painting every sister of battle I can get my grubby hands on.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to see any kind of new units that might get added.
That's the really exciting thing, isn't it? Because Games Workshop don't just go, oh, I'm going to remake Squig Hoppers, or I'm going to remake a Squig Hut. They're like, here you go. There's like a whole army of new stuff.
Yeah.
So the Sisters of Battle are never just going to be, here is all the old units rehashed with there's going to be something new in there. And that is probably the most exciting thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what excites me about the Battle Sisters. So did they give an indication of how far off the Codex actually is?
No. And I think that's very sensible because, well, if, and I say the word if, and I'm not meaning to undermine any sort of communication, but if they really did start the project when they said they did, which was as a result of the community survey last year, then the lead time that they talk about for miniatures design in the podcasts is quite a number of years, really, isn't it? So,
can be, yeah.
They're talking 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
From what I'm only going. I've never been a part of that process, so I'm only going on what they've said on the podcasts. So we're in year 1.5. But what's interesting is they've actually started to design to do the rules alongside it, because again, I'm only taken from the podcast, Voxcast and Stormcast, that the miniatures get designed, then they're handed to the games designers and the rules writers and the background writers, and they're turned into units, etc., etc. I suppose with the Sisters of Battle, there is a head start in that a lot of these units have data sheets already. And it's about putting the whole thing together, and there's a lot of background already written. And I'm guessing that they've just integrated them into that process from the start. I don't know. If that's the case, then I think we're going to be looking at early next year, maybe the end of this year. But that's a complete guess.
Yeah.
Based on that information.
Yeah, well, hopefully when they arrive, lots of people will purchase them and it won't all have been in vain.
Well, that's the real worry, isn't it? That actually, after all this has been said and done, the whole enterprise falls flat on its face because people don't buy them. When they've been asked for and then done and then they're not bought, that's the worst case scenario, but I just genuinely can't see it happening. Those models are so good and the design sketches are so, I think they're going to be an absolute hit.
Yeah, I think so too, mate. I think so too. So, Forge World have topped up our Galaxy of War segment as well, with some of the white scars have appeared.
Yeah.
For Heresy. So,
white scars and black armour.
Yes. Oh, do you know what? I didn't even remember the term. I really like those Terminators.
I do too.
I really like them. I really like that they have got iconography, but it's not over the top.
Yes. Yes. 100 times yes.
I really like that.
Yeah. Because I think that's one of the things that I wasn't so keen about the Space Wolf Terminators, is that although you want a Space Wolf to look like a Space Wolf, the level of Space Wolfiness felt more 30k to me. Whereas the White Scars ones, I think with Heresy, a lot of it feels like it should be painted onto the armour.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you feel the same, but that's my
view.
No,
I absolutely do. Absolutely.
I think the White Scars...
Well, because everything was a lot more functional, wasn't it?
Yeah, and yeah. And there was a lot less superstition. A lot it was the age of the Imperium where it was science and progress and practicality rather than gubbins.
Yeah, there's a job advert up for the lead Horus Heresy content writer for Forge World.
Is there?
Background person. That's big shoes to fill.
Massive, great big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I'm hoping though that the fact that the Forge World paints have come back through the main range may show a move to do a little bit more with the Heresy.
Yeah.
It would be a good time as well, because with them going into the Solar War, and that sort of 10-book series, be a good time to get people, I think, because that is just such a seminal part of background.
Yeah.
Because basically, after Istvan, it's then like you got Istvan and then
Prospero. That
Prospero
was often talked about. But you're right, it was basically Istvan, Prospero, Terra.
Terra, yeah.
Maybe.
And all the rest has been filler.
Maybe.
Good filler, don't get me wrong.
You could add in Calth into that. I think that.
Yeah.
But, largely everything else hadn't really been filled in.
So it'd be great to see that.
We're forgetting the Dark Angels, falling to chaos as well.
Oh, yeah, of course. But nobody talks about that.
Especially the Dark Angels.
Especially the Dark Angels, yeah. So, to conclude my sort of quick whiz through all the stuff that has come along and what we think of it for the Galaxy of War, Blackstone Fortress Escalation. So, another add-on, I suppose, to Blackstone Fortress with some awesome new models in it. Really awesome cultists.
Yes, and they're the ones with the new heroes in, aren't they?
Yes.
Oh, mate, I'm so glad that they're in there. Oh, because they were in a box game that was only sold in America, weren't they? Really? So
were they?
Yeah, I think so. By the same company that does the Space Marine one, where the Space Marine heroes are in it.
Really?
I'm sure. I don't know. I'm maybe chatting absolute rubbish, but I'm pretty sure that they'd had previously only been available in a game, and I haven't seen that game over here.
Well, hopefully by this time through the podcast, people have downloaded most of it anyway. So if they've now just realised you're talking rubbish and they've stopped listening, at least we've had them for a little bit.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening.
I love those character models. Oh, so good.
Yeah, they are good. There's a peg leg guy, isn't there?
This is the Crusader, mate. I absolutely love it. Oh, dude, do you reckon they're going to do Crusader units for Sisters of Battle?
Well, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Oh, I love the Crusaders. That would be good. Whole squads of sword and shield wielding nut jobs. It's going to be brilliant. Have do you know the Chaos, the add-on pack with the Chaos Commissar?
No, it hasn't come out yet. No.
No, yeah, that's been
sort of disappeared.
Do you reckon that's gone the way of the Sylvaneth? It got mobbed on its way across Europe or something. Or it's been held to ransom in a customs depot. What's going on with that? It's like some jobs-worthy dude sat there going, no, the Sylvaneth book is not allowed into our country.
Yeah. That's like some snubbed hobbyist. If it's not Bretonians, it's not coming in.
Oh, dear me. That could so
Or it's
happen.
that Tomb King dude from Warhammer Fest.
Yes, Tomb King dude from Warhammer Fest. Yes. Who has been mentioned in at least 3 podcasts I've listened to.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm really excited about Escalation. Quite a lot, actually. Really happy to see Blackstone Fortress continuing to have support. really quite an awesome way for them to bring in other models that aren't necessarily part of a range, like the cultists, for example. Really, really looking forward to that. Yeah,
it's great, isn't it? Chris and I still need to get through and finish Blackstone Fortress, actually, to get to the vault.
It's the same with me. I've played Silver Tower probably 30 times. I've never finished it. I've done the first 2 quests like 15 times, but then you just don't finish it off.
Excellent.
Similar with Blackstone Fortress.
Good work, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
But it just makes finishing it that all the more sweeter.
Oh yeah, it will. It will. So that's it for what's sort of appeared for 40k. Is there anything further 40k-ish that's crossed your mind that you wanted to discuss?
Well, I had inklings of thoughts about, because I'm in the back of my head. With the contrast paints coming up and various other factors, I've been playing into my second army in 40k, which was always going to be Imperial Guard, because I think if you don't have an Guard army and you're an Imperial fan, then you're missing out on a huge wodge of narrative components. Mm-hmm. So I've been thinking about the backstory for my Guard for some time, and we've spoken about them being Huskarls from the Space Wolves, that kind of stuff. I thought that was a bit cliched, actually, and I think that if you were going to have Huskarls for a Space Marine chapter, they are going to be in different armour, and I don't think having Cadians painted in the Huskarl colours that they mention in Ashes of Prospero, I don't think that would work.
No, I don't.
So I'd thought about converting them, and I thought no. But I've always quite liked the idea of a foot-sloggy infantryman, the real, sort of backbone of the Imperial Army. And I was painting the cultists today, and the whole narrative started to come into my head, which is really unpolished, but if you're interested, I'll share it now.
Yeah, go.
So I had a colour scheme in my head of a sort of Karak stone cloth with a brown armour plate. So quite dirty, quite easy to do. And I was painting the cultists today in the brown that I was going to use, which is Dryad Bark and then Gorthor with Baneblade and a bit of Karak stone as a highlight. And I thought, why would guardsmen have this kind of colours? And I'm using these colours on my cultists, so would they be from the same place, and how would that story pan out? And I created this idea of like a mud world where there's rare materials, like minerals, in this mud that they have to cut through and sift and then silt through and then sort of almost pan this material out. So it's a really grimy, horrible place to live, and it produces really robust, but quite dour, guardsmen. And obviously, when it comes to the Imperial world, guardsmen come in tides, which is quite an interesting part of the Imperial Guard that I think some people miss, is that the Imperial Guard are actually often the elite of a planet.
Yes.
Because they create sort of recruitments of PDF to defend the planet, and the best of those get elevated to guardsmen, formed into units, and sent out to join the Imperial Guard. So they're often actually like the best of an intake. So, which is quite interesting, really, because we often think of the Imperial Guard as like, the worst, and they're really not. These guys, when you think about what they've gone through, what they do, all the training they've had, which is quite substantial, a lot of them, and then the training they have in their voyages, which is quite a long voyage, they're going to be pretty good, actually. And I had this idea of this mud planet being within the control of the Space Wolves, as in like the general area that they look after, and the Imperial Guard parts of them coming back to sort of restock and see what's happened. And in the time they've been away, large continents of the place has been corrupted by chaos and the Gene Stealer cults, because they've slowly changed like the Emperor into the gods of chaos and worked their kind of evil to convert them before they realise what had happened.
It's not evil, it's enlightenment.
Yeah, but that's how they almost certainly sell it to these people. And when you're living in a world where you're panning for bits of gold or silver or whatever out of endless amounts of silt, and the mud must be everywhere, even in your own house, I would have thought it was quite easy to convince these people that there is a better way. And I'm imagining a sort of massive civil war when the Guards regiments come back and they're like, no, this is not what we're fighting for. And they descend on the planet and purify it. And the Space Wolves are involved. And then there's a huge argument about like whether all the people from the planet should be purged, and the Space Wolves side with them and go, no. And that's as far as I've got.
That's cool. I'm particularly intrigued to see whether there's like some kind of solid national mud wrestling championships.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's cool to have a bit of background though, isn't it? And you can start like, especially like, imagine doing a kill team, and then, you can start to think about, well, what's this guy's story?
Yeah.
So when he was off-world, where's he been? What's he seen? Why is something particularly important to him?
Yeah.
Is he one of these people that, like, is he a sniper who worships his weapon, and has carried it through thick and thin and all the rest of it? So, yeah, I think that's ace, and it gives you a good footing to take that forward.
I was thinking of, like, some minor conversions as well, like Rough Riders on snow skis, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where the soil, the mud is almost in like a perpetual state of snowiness. So they can't drive vehicles over it. They have to sort of, I don't want to say jet ski, but you know how I mean, like the snow thingies with the, doing a really good job of describing it. The slow sleds.
What, snowmobiles?
Yeah, with the big ski at the front.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right, okay.
Really badly described.
That would be good. And you could get, although I do prefer the Taurox with wheels, arguably it with tracks would be more suitable for such terrain.
Yeah.
But you could get a few of them, and do that regiment. And then you could do your tanks as a totally different regiment.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to do. So the actual army is going to have like chimeras, obviously, because but the actual tanks are going to be from a tank regiment, because tanks per se do not suit this world at all. They just get bogged down and stuck. So, and so do walkers. So I'm playing around with the idea, but
I think it'd be cool if you took something like the Taurox, maybe, or had a look around. I mean, it's always difficult, isn't it, when you have a look around at third-party sites, because you have to consider where you're going to want to use the army.
Yeah.
But it would be nice, instead of chimeras, to make, like, I'm sure I've seen it. In fact, I think it was in the Armies, Legions and Hordes book. Make, like, cargo 8s. Use the Orc truck as a basis and make, like, cargo 8s. So, like, lorries that carry the men, because they'll be lighter than chimeras.
Well, I was thinking of actually going a little bit different from that and creating grav tanks.
Grav tanks?
Yeah, like really simplistic grav tanks.
Well, okay.
And Fair enough. It so like the mineral that they're pulling out of this planet is one of the key components of grav plates. And have like a skid on the front, but with like a grav plate at the back, so it hovers along, so the weight isn't on the floor.
Yeah, okay.
Or
hovercraft.
Hovercraft, yeah, like the new imperial, the Admech ones.
Yeah.
If I put those like balloony like things around the edge of a chimera, it would probably look awful. But I'm playing with the idea. Having said that, there's absolutely no reason why I can't get the Admech ones and call them chimeras.
Well, no, there isn't.
And sort of converted them a bit to that would work. I think that would work.
Yeah.
There we go. Anyway, that's the only thing I've got to say on 40k. Because I've been painting goblins for the last 5 months, so.
Yes. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, I think with that in mind, then we will head over to the Mortal Realms and have a little natter of Sigmar. And hopefully, by the time we discuss 40k again, I'll actually have some sort of towel collection going on, other than just one man.
Whoop.
Whoop. Okay, guys. So we will see you through the Realm Gate. Dun-dun! That's Sigmar lightning, by the way. Just so.
Excellent. Very good. Hi guys, and welcome back to the Mortal Realms. Been quite a cool little month on the Mortal Realms front, I thought. I'll get the disappointment out of the way. One of the things I was really disappointed at Warhammer Fest was the Age of Sigmar seminar. Actually, I didn't think there was a great deal of new content that was discussed, but we've had new stuff since, so that's pretty cool. And we're going to try to talk our way through them. So, where do you want to start, Dan? Is there anything particularly you want to go with for first? Or should we just try and rattle away?
That awesome Storm Vault.
The Storm Vault scenery. Yes.
That is incredible.
And
massive.
I saw that, and stood and watched him mess around with it at Warhammer Fest, and was very impressed with it, and excited, but I was never going to buy it. Got to be honest, but it didn't really interest me enough to buy it. Until I saw Moorhammer's 2 boxes of the stuff filling a 4x4 board.
I know.
And like the 5 or 6 different variations he had of it, and I that was me. I thought, wow, that's really awesome. Actually,
I really like the idea of combining that with some of the ruined bits all over it, and doing like a skirmish game over it of like adventurers going in to, investigate it. Oh, and then they could have to find entry, and when they find entry, you could use the tiles and shit from Silver Tower or Hammerhow.
Yes.
To explore the vault. Oh, this is a good idea.
Can you...
If only I had time to follow that through.
Can you imagine what it's going to be like when we get Age of Sigmar role playbook?
Oh. It's going to be amazing.
I'm really sorry because I always forget the chap's name, but the dude who built them or designed them was doing Twitter posts all about like the details of them and how he designed them, why they designed them that way. They were really, really good. Really, really good. And the thought process that's gone into them was really, really interesting. Do you remember he did the same for the Mechanicum stuff and how to fit them all together?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I'm really surprised they haven't been picked up, compiled into an article and put on Warhammer Community.
Yeah.
It does surprise me that, actually.
Me too.
Because they are really... I save, like, countless numbers of those posts as, like, PDFs and JPEGs to try and create my own, like, document on how to use the Storm Vault scenery. Oh. So we segue...
Yeah, I love it, mate. I think it's really nice. And I like that the Penebral engine, or whatever it is, looks really cool on top of the sort of round one.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. It's almost like the two were designed to go together.
Who knows?
So, Of course, the Stormvault scenery is part of the Forbidden Power expansion, which is effectively the next step forward on the story for Age of Sigmar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is...
And... Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say, it adds in another level of fractures behaviour, I suppose, between the original Pantheon.
Yeah. And from right back at the dawn of time as well.
Yeah.
So when you read the books, like, originally, I thought there was this sense of, like, Sigmar was, like, the golden entity that brought all these people together and created the Pantheon, and even managed to get Gork and Walker on side. And then it all went wrong, and Nagash was a tool, and the whole thing fell apart, and Gork and Walker decided he'd rather just hit stuff in the face, and the Pantheon fell to pieces. But the more you go through the storyline, actually Sigmar isn't the golden boy he was made out to be, in a lot of ways. He's a lot more human, and I like that. I like that he's more human. He's not evil, he's just different than... Well, he's human. He has those human fallacies. Like coming across artifacts and people and creatures and things that he thought was so powerful that no one should have them because no one else could be trusted, and sticking them in storm vaults.
Yeah.
And then corrupting Teclis's knowledge-giving machines via dwarven fiddlery to blank people's memories so they're never found again. Until now. Which is 101 of the storyline for Forbidden Power. Essentially, it's a campaign box, which outlines campaigns, gives you a few more options to take, which I haven't got the book to read them out, but a few more options to take in army builds. One of them being Lady Orlando having her own kind of, as a Mortarch, having her own sort of force with essentially what my understanding is that the rules for that kind of Nighthaunt force just saps morale out of everything. So low morale armies, beware. Because you will just go. You'll be disappearing off the table. So my Iron Jaws are going to do great.
It's alright, swamp them with goblins.
Yeah, stab them. Stab them in the nuts. It's the best way forward.
I was going to say the knees, but that's you go for it.
Absolutely, backstabbing, great.
So I do like the models for the spells.
Yeah.
It's interesting though that the little floating pyramid triangle things do look like they're just the ones from Shadespire.
Well, I haven't actually put them side by side to see.
Well, no, neither have I. But I'm just recalling that out of my brain from an observation I made, so I could be...
They might well be the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I love the boatman.
He's fantastic, isn't he?
He is excellent, and he's good in the game. And there's a company that have made a movement tray, 2 movement trays in fact, where you put him in the middle, and then you can put either 25mm or 32mm bases in all the other slots, and it makes sure that all the people that you've set up there are within the 3 inches of him that they need to be.
Oh, that's quite a cool idea.
And then you can move that tray across the table in one go, because that's how he works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was quite a cool idea, actually. And it stops arguments as well, because it clearly defines how many people fit in that area.
Yeah.
And
I'm assuming that they've worked it out, so they've fitted the optimum number in.
Yeah.
There's now going to be people there trying to fit more in.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea, that. I quite like that.
Yeah, I do as well. I like gimmicky things like that, though.
Yeah, but if you're playing in a tournament, the last thing you want to be doing is faffing around with that, making sure everyone thinks in 3 inches or something.
Yeah.
Don't you? So that's a really cool sort of quick way of dealing with the problem. So for me, the model's great. The rules, I don't play enough games to be really excited about them, but they read well, which is cool. I'm really excited about the story moving forward. So, the arc in the book is that, or the campaign that you're playing is that a specific storm vault has been found that contains a old ally / general / really important VIP, for Nagash. And he sends Lady Orlando on like a dedicated mission to get them back. And of course, Sigmar sends a unit of Stormcast and whatnots to stop it from happening, and I believe fail. So whatever this thing is, this entity is, that is never really revealed, is there on the cards now.
Was it you that suggested it might be Cetra?
No.
Somebody said that to me.
But that's quite cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the really obvious answer, which often ends up being. For me, the fact that the storyline is moving forward, and in like 5 or 10 years' time, we'll be remembering these things that developed the background for Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
Because Forbidden Power as a box set with rules and all that will probably be the way of the dodo by that point. But the background that is being plugged into Age of Sigmar, that is laying that layered tapestry of story, that won't go anywhere, which is really cool. Really, really cool.
Yes, it is very cool. So, I'm just thinking, pulling through my hair, what else we may or may not have seen. Well, not really, may not. There's not a lot to talk about there, is there? Stupid thing to say.
Well, we haven't seen the Sylvaneth.
We have not seen the Sylvaneth.
But we technically have. We technically haven't, but we have.
Oh yeah, because the book was accidentally put up for sale, wasn't it?
I believe so. That's the story. That the book made its way onto the iTunes, iPlayer, however the people download the digital copy of those things, and so it's been out there and people have read it and broken it down. In fact, Sprues and Brews did a really good breakdown of it, because one of them is a Sylvaneth player and disassembled it perfectly, I thought. Given really good sort of thoughts on all of the different elements of it, which I wouldn't even dream of trying to replicate, because I A, don't play Sylvaneth, and B, I'm not that guy. So it sounded cool. You know, a lot of the sort of noise that people were making was that, you know, the less wildwoods, less mobility, etc., etc. From what, you know, the Sprues and Brews were saying, not true. Actually, there's lots of ways of creating wildwoods, and there are lots of ways the army is mobile, even possibly more mobile than they used to be, because some units can just do it now. Rather than relying on the wildwoods. And there's some really cool stuff, like some of the buffs that I think he got Spirit of Durthu up to 9 attacks or something ridiculous. Like, with the buffs. So, and he can with attack first and then withdraw. And if you put him in a group of tree men, they can do like a stomp move that 50-50 stops a unit from being able to, or forces a unit to fight last. So, you know, theoretically, with 3 tree men, or 2 tree men and Durthu, you could stop everybody from fighting before you've all hit, and then hit them, and the Spirit of Durthu can withdraw. And whatever's left gets to have a pop at the two tree lords. So, you know, things like that. It sounds dirty as hell. And what's cool about it is, by the sound of it, it gives you a lot more viable options for the Sylvaneth that there weren't really before. So we're going to see a variety of Sylvaneth armies, I hope, now, rather than like the current builds. And also the Revenants have gotten a lot better. So lots of cool stuff there.
Yep. And hopefully they'll arrive at some point. Wood Elves have joined us in Blood Bowl.
Yes.
Well, they haven't joined us actually, have they? They've been previewed. They look cool. They'll be good fun.
Yeah, I really like them. Really, really like them. I think they're a fantastic reimagining of the originals.
Definitely.
I don't like them anywhere near as much as the Halflings, though. I just absolutely adore the halflings.
Their pasties and baguettes.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're excellent, aren't they?
Yeah, I just can't get over how much I love them. I was devastated by the halflings, actually. I'm gonna I honestly looked on the website for those halfling hot pot and chef, like 2 or 3 times the week they were out, and I could not find them. Now, perhaps that's my own ineptitude, but they were not in new releases, either in the Age of Sigmar. Well, I kept looking at the Age of Sigmar one, so they might have been somewhere else. They might have been in new releases for Blood Bowl, I guess. In the box games section, but I couldn't find them. And then on the Sunday, I thought I'm going to have one last go, and they'd stopped selling them. I was pretty cross. I had to Google search halfling hot pot in Google, and it brought up the page on. I should have done that from the outset. I just wasn't dedicated enough, I guess. But I am devastated I missed those, because I really wanted those. I've always wanted those ever since I first saw them, and they were in the first book I ever got for Warhammer. So that's my moan of the day. I was gutted by that. I got in a right old Paddy Ashdown.
Well, there we go. It's one less on the pile.
Yeah, that's true. But these options don't come around very much. And I genuinely, there's a little part of my heart that hopes that when Games Workshop does eventually manage to expand its production, that there is going to be 2 things I really hope they do. The first one is a website that has good pictures of their entire back catalogue, so that people who pick them up from jumble sales or whatever, they're not relying on third-party websites to try and identify their products. I think that would be really cool, because I know Games Workshop must have photographs of all of these, and if they don't, then they can photograph the ones from their library. But also, I'd love to see these made-to-orders actually exist again in a kind of production line kind of sense more often, because I'm just gutted that I missed that, and I'm now going to have to search around on eBay and get a much lower quality version of them. Anyway, that's my hope. I did actually put one of those things in the community survey, that they, the older models came back to made to order. It's probably completely financially unviable, which is a shame. Anyway, a completely off topic on Age of Sigmar. Yeah, so the Wood Elves, really like them. What was next?
Yeah, I like them, and they'll be quite a fun team.
Fast and fragile.
Lots of hopping, skipping, passing, no hitting. In fact, there'll be a couple that can hit.
Well, they must be able to take the tree man as well. They always used to be able to. Surely.
Maybe. Well, you would think so, wouldn't you? Would make sense.
Yeah.
I like the halflings have got a squirrel to aid them.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's enough to make you get them, isn't it?
Yeah. If you need... There's a squirrel on the tree man as well. And a woodpecker.
Oh. It's like a little colony of them.
So what else have we had? We've done a much worse job than this, because this was my section to sort out. And I've missed the opportunity to gather a list. Are
you sure there is? Oh, Warcry.
Warcry, yes, of course, Warcry. We've seen the Corvus Cabal, which is by a country mile my favourite one so far. Absolutely love them. In fact, I'm thinking of buying a box set just so I can cut them up and use the Ravens to put on Space Wolves.
What? Why do you want Ravens on your Space Wolves?
Because Space Wolves have Ravens, dude.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, I suppose they do have the Chooser of the Slain thing, don't they?
Yeah, they have loads of... Ravens are like a massive part of their background, because it's a massive part of Viking mythology. Got Munin and Hugin, who were the Ravens of Odin. Used to fly out into the world and observe things and then bring back the news to Odin.
Oh.
So they were a huge part of Viking mythology. So they're kind of in the Space Wolf background. Like, Our Stormcaller has a Cyber Raven. Always has
Yes.
done. Yeah. Some great conversions done out there. In fact, Ian Craig did a great kill team with one. I think the Sniper had the Raven as a kind of like second set of eyes. And, of course, Tommy Sewell's done his Librarian with a Raven as well. So yeah, I think Ravens and Space Wolves I really like the idea of.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
No, that's good.
And with Warcry, I'm absolutely loving how diverse the warbands are.
Yeah, I'm quite interested to see them, actually. Because potentially going up to the Age of Sigmar Open Day, aren't we?
Yeah.
Which will have Warcry available to play for the first time.
Yeah.
So really interested to find out what that's like.
Yeah. I was really worried right when they were talking about Warcry that it was just going to be chaos. And it has just been chaos, but it's been different chaos.
Mm.
Like a different take on chaos completely. And I really like it. I really like it. I mean, that Corvus Cabal really captured me. The metal ironclad dudes, they're the same again. You know, they're so different from any of the other chaos they've released that I think they're just an interesting model to paint, if nothing else.
No. Yeah, it will be good. It will be good to try the different ways to paint. I think I'm just interested to see how it plays. I have to be honest, and this will probably change, but I'm tempted to leave it for someone else to get and then play their copy for a bit. Unless it's amazing, you know, I might be like, this is groundbreaking, must have it. Or, well, it'll have a Citadel logo on, won't it? So I'll probably want it.
I think one of the things about it that we haven't seen is what it's going to be like in its entirety.
Yeah.
So, by that, I mean, I'm assuming that this is going to be released in a box set. Well, I was to start with. But now there's 4 gangs, and from the original videos, there was quite a bit of scenery in those videos. So what's going to be in the starters box set? Or are these gangs that we're seeing not going to be in the starters box set? Have we yet to see the starters box set? Are these gangs like extras that you buy into afterwards? We don't really have a clue what Warcry as an offering looks like yet, do we?
No, not at all. All we've really seen is the warbands, isn't it?
Yeah, the individual components.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, if we're talking about a £100 box with 4 warbands and a bunch of scenery and the rules, that's a bargain in its own right.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I mean, if you're a Chaos Undivided player, you could paint the warbands up and stick them in as cultists or what have you, or use them for Age of Sigmar in a different way, or use some of them as sorcerers or just thinking out loud. I don't think we really have any idea what it's going to look like at the moment, which is quite interesting considering how much has been released about it. I feel like most of what comes out for Age of Sigmar and like the sneak peeks has been Warcry for quite a while now.
So, I think that's everything for Mortal Realms.
I feel like there must be other stuff.
Probably, that we're missing. Oh, that's right. Glade Guard are going to go up in points.
There's a resounding cheer from quite a few people then.
No. I'll just throw that in there for Dan. He's told me our friendship is over if they go up in points.
Has he really?
Yeah, because that was like, I gave feedback, didn't I? That I thought the Glade Guard were overly good. And now, if they are in any way made worse, I am in trouble.
It might be made worse on the back of a massive Great Big Elf release where he no longer cares.
Yeah, that'd be good. See, so talking about the Age of Sigmar Open Day, kind of thinking that Warcry, it's going to be pretty dominated by Warcry.
Yeah, I should imagine so.
Which is a bit sad, because I'd like to see what else was coming in the Mortal Realms next.
Well, you never know. It's like I said to you the other day. The things with these seminars is that it's often the things you didn't see coming that really are the exciting thing.
Yeah.
You know, every time that I've been really blown away by a release or a sneak peek is the stuff that we've never speculated, and that's kind of quite natural, I suppose. When the Deepkin came out, I just absolutely blew my mind because I wasn't expecting that at all. The same with the Pelennor Fields. We had a little bit of an idea they were coming out, but to see what you got in the box set was really exciting. But like,
and when the Daughters of Cain
came, that's another really good example. And at Warhammer Fest, it was the Hobbit holes. They kept the whole Hobbit thing came out of nowhere, and it was just fantastic. And that was really excited me because I didn't expect to see them at all. You wouldn't have expected them to go from Pelennor Fields to the Scouring of the Shire. That doesn't make. But they have, and yeah. Oh, there is something that we completely forgotten, and how could we possibly forget? We have now got a model for Gotrek from the Age of Sigmar.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he's a belter. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And I think I said it on the podcast when we were reading the book. I really hope they do a model for him, and there he is. Like, absolutely fantastic.
He is lovely, isn't he? He's really good.
I'm going to get a sound bite of the Gotreks alive, and if I ever have him in my army, I'm just going to play it every time he hits someone. Because why wouldn't you? Is the question. It's really cool. And they've announced the second book for that series, or second audio book for that series. So, which is really awesome because, that means that Brian Bress had enjoyed himself and is in it for the ride.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Which is excellent news, really. Yeah. So I will be buying that as soon as that is released. That is happening because Gotrek is just such a character.
Yes, he is. I think Gotrek is probably a great point to leave it on.
Yes. Yeah, move on to the community section.
So, guys, we will catch you in the community. Hail, glorious community! We've always got to start with a mighty hail, Ben. Even if I am very much in danger of falling asleep in the middle of segments. I'm saving up my energy for a mighty hail. So, guys, welcome to the community section. Great if you've made it this far with us.
Dan
really sorry
didn't.
that we're down to... No, I nearly didn't, yeah. Really sorry we're down to monthly at the minute, but really appreciate the messages of support that we've had with that decision. And we're going to keep thinking about it and thinking about what works and what doesn't. Big change coming for me. We're going back to work shortly with having Hannah now. So we'll see how that goes. But what is wonderful to see is the community is as lively as ever in the group forum. So really chuffed about that. Thank you for that. And on that note, I'm going to break with Ben's mojo because Ben always starts with the shout outs. And I'm going to do competition winner because I'm really excited because the chat that's won this month has entered every month so far. An excellent miniature each time and just about been pipped to the post. So Ben Chambers, congratulations, buddy. Really great to see your avatar win for Elemental. Really cool conversion.
Yeah, it was.
Really cool miniature. And I've seen it sat in your cabinet since I've known you, I think. So it's been great to see it actually get painted. And I'm very excited by what I've seen you painting this for this month's, which is Hero of Legend. So that's any Hero of Legend, really. From Lord of the Rings, 40k, Age of Sigmar, whatever. Historical character if you want to. Any of that. I will put a separate post up. I realise I announced it as part of the voting post. So I'll put a separate post up, start gathering some entries. But it's really nice to see sort of 12 to 15 entries each month. So thank you for that, guys.
And they're really good quality entries as well. I mean, guys, you're really knocking it out of the park with some of this stuff.
Yeah, which is good. So yeah, that's our competition winner. I'm really excited to have said that. So, Ben, do you wish to do some shout outs?
Yeah, I think I'm going to break with a bit of tradition as well. So normally we shout out in Instagram stuff. I am going to shout out a couple that I've seen over the last couple of weeks. What I tend to do with this is look back through the messages I send Dan. Anything that's blown my nut when I'm looking through Instagram, I tend to immediately message Dan and go, Dan, look at this! So I'll go back through a couple of those. But to start with, I've had the last week off, and as a result, other than painting a gazillion goblins, have listened to quite a few podcasts. So aside from the Stormcast and Voxcast, which goes from strength to strength, I think I've had some really cool guests on. Kevin Chin, I think it's been a standout recently, was just filled with energy, really fun to listen to, and must be an absolute hoot to work with. His sort of conversation on painting and the artwork for Age of Sigmar literally was a philosophical whirlwind that actually just left me sitting there thinking about the whole hobby in a different way, actually. So that's well worth listening to. But aside from the Games Workshop ones, we had the absolute pleasure of bumping into Clint from Heralds of War, who's is the tournament organizer, has the accolade of running the biggest Age of Sigmar tournament yet, and it still holds the record, although I'm sure with the way the hobby is going, that's going to just get smashed every 6 months, I'd have thought, to be honest, Dan.
Quite possibly by Clint.
Yes. And, anyway, as a result, I've listened to the podcast, intermittently, over the last six months, but I've downloaded the last 4 episodes and listened to them back to back, and they're absolutely brilliant. And a really good sense of humour. So if you're interested in seeing how things are done on literally the other side of the planet, then you can't go far wrong with the Heralds of War. And the sticker, Clint, is on my recording box now. So I found a place for it. It's going to be permanently part of the podcast. Second one.
I've been rocking my t-shirt constantly. It's like my fashion statement.
I don't think I've actually taken it off this week. I know that's disgusting.
That is horrendous.
No, I'm joking. That
is horrendous. It's possibly, if it turns up back at Clint's house, it's possibly walked there by itself.
Oh no, I wear it and then it gets washed, and then as soon as I see it in the washing pile, it goes back on again. So it's it's kind of my...
When I went round to Chris's, the family went round, and Betty, his little daughter, who's the sort of same age as Joshua, so she's almost 3. She saw that t-shirt and she was like, there's a fiery dragon. Why is it eating the scary things? Because it's got the Nighthaunt, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's basically Pac-Man for Age of Sigmar, really.
Yeah, so that was quite funny. I like that.
Second podcast I'd like to shout out is Sprues and Brews. So I've been hearing a lot about them over the last... quite a long time now, actually, but never actually had a chance to sit down and listen to them. They are now plugged in as a regular for me, because they were genuinely fun to listen to and really knowledgeable guys. So I would very much recommend, giving them a listen to. So,
there we go.
My 2 podcast shout outs. Instagram wise, there's 2 I'd like to shout out. So let me just bring my digital device online. Gothic Army is the first one on Instagram, and he has produced probably my favourite bloodthirster I have ever seen. It's really, really good. It's got like a deep glow coming from the inside, so it looks very Balroggy, I suppose, Dan. I think would be the best way to describe it. But it's just a is just brilliant. I love the fact that his it's the Forge World one. All of his skin is glowing and sort of looking like there's a deep heat, but his armour just looks cold steel, which is probably my favourite feature of it, actually. And the second one I'd like to shout out is for a unit of Stormcast that I really like Stormcast that managed to sort of bridge that gap between looking absolutely perfect and too scruffy. I think there's a great sort of middle ground to walk there. And I'm going to get this wrong, I think, the way to pronounce it, but Samson Osmas, all one word, Samson Osmas on Instagram. So SAMSONOSMAS, and his recent post to Stormcast just absolutely blew my mind. Green and cream. He's carved off the detail on the shields and freehanded a design on that I'd have never come up with that design, Dan.
Yeah.
In a month of Sundays.
So cool. And
it's really, really good. And of course, to make him even more perfect, he's used a couple of Space Wolf heads, which just is the way forward as far as I'm concerned.
What, dead on the bases?
No. So there's those two. And the final one is the Secret Workshop. I don't know if any of you were keeping the tabs on the Golden Demon, but the Secret Workshop, _secret_workshop, Maxime Panaud. And if I just absolutely in love with that troll from the Slayer Sword winner. It's obvious it's going to be good because it won the Slayer Sword, but he's done some really cool stuff with it that I hadn't really thought to ever do. So from the front, he's done, other than the fact it's converted in the most insanely awesome way, because it's so subtle you can't tell that it's a conversion, but it is. I mean, his sculpting skills are phenomenal. But he's done it with a warm light from the front and a cold light from the back. So he's highlighted it in two different ways, and it's so good, Dan. Anyway, the Secret Workshop, of course, as soon as I saw the Slayer Sword, I was like, or the model, I'm going to have to follow this guy, and I've been following him since. And he's broken down a lot of how he's done some stuff and his thought process on the page. So if you're interested and you haven't, and you're interested in model painting, just go over and follow it, have a look, because even just the sort of work in progress shots of that Slayer Sword winner is well worth the effort to go and seek out, because there's some seriously cool conversion work done there. And that's my shout out, Stan.
Very good. Very good. So as ever, I've had a look through the hobby page. And I'm really sorry if I miss you out and you've done something awesome. I try and comment, and Ben tries to comment as much as we can, because we do look.
All the time.
Definitely always look. All the time. And I love it. I really like seeing it all. So things that caught my eye this over the last couple of weeks. Rich Nutter's done one of the new pieces of scenery. Not only has he done it really quick, but he's done it in like this sort of emerald marbly looking colour.
Yeah.
And I flipping love it, mate. I really like it.
Yeah.
I really like, to the point where I was like, I might need to do that. So Ian Cox, I'm really sorry, Ian, but you're going to have to leave the group because you've done a Space Wolf thing.
Yeah.
It looks like. So, a Cyber Wolf.
It looks awesome, Ian. Yeah. You don't listen to him.
Henry Steele is bombarding us with some awesome looking Titanicus stuff. I really like it, man.
That picture so where everyone had lined up their Titans, I was like, oh my days.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's good. So thanks for that. And there was something else that I was going to talk about. That's right. It's I say that's right, and I haven't even found it yet. Oh yeah, James's Knights. James Cheese writes Knights.
Yeah, they are really, really good, James.
They are really good. And people in their flipping nights, every time I put up a post about, I've done this or I'm doing that, people will put a night, and I'm like, oh, I just love them, man. I love the back. I was telling Dan Wosley about them yesterday, and he was like, well, so what are they? Are they piloted? And I was like, yeah, they're piloted. And he's like, okay, so what? Why? And I was like, well, they're knights. He was like, what do you mean they're knights? I was like, they're knights.
They're
like,
literal
they're barons,
knights.
and it's like Bretonians in space. And he was like, oh. So yeah, they're cool. So yeah, very nice. And oh my goodness, what is it with Sean and the ability to just paint 3 million different things a month?
I don't know.
Time warp. Time warp.
It's quite impressive, actually. He painted the first model on his hobby page within 24 hours. It's like...
I know. I was like, I reckon he's got them all done in a box.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, actually, I don't know, actually. I was going to say he needs to post pictures of it before he does it, but I think he does.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that. I've seen
at the start of the month, yeah.
Yeah, that's why the idea's popped into my head. Yeah, there it is. Oh no, that's the end of the month.
He does do it.
Yeah. Something else I've seen as well was, and I'm just going to find... Oh, that's right. Simon Andrews' Gandalf.
Yeah.
How good is that?
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Like,
and his whole Lord of the Rings stuff, man, is really awesome. Like, genuinely good. Like, Cabinet of Warhammer World good.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? So, I think I said to him he gets a bonus point for quoting Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Just because I think that's amazing. But yeah, I just think that's great.
And not done enough. There's not enough Lord of the Rings quoting going on.
No, there is not. Need to add some more in. And I could shout out this person here who carved out the front of all the legs on these spiders, but he's clearly a muppet.
What was that about? I forgot about the spiders. Oh my days. Yeah.
That was
I wonder what that would look like if I did that. Oh, that looks good. Oh, now I have to do it on the whole lot.
It does look infinitely better though.
Yeah, I know, but it was totally unnecessary. But there we go.
No, it wasn't unnecessary because it looked rubbish. And last but no means least, Ian Craig, I hope you've had a good weekend at the GT.
Yeah.
Your stuff looks flipping ace.
And your work rate is ridiculous.
That's what I was going to say. Someone else that pumps the stuff out and at a high quality. So good for you, buddy, because that's just awesome stuff. So looking forward to some photos, hopefully, of how you get on and what you come up against. Yeah, so let us know. If you haven't already by this point, you're always communicating, so that's great. Thank you for that. So we're going to cover off a few events.
Yeah.
So, really, guys, we're just accessing Facebook and looking at what people have got up, just to try and communicate it a bit more. Obviously, by all means, follow the links and jump on there. Starting out up in Bristol. So big, really ramping up the events in big. So, Summertide's 40k tournament, that's on June the 16th. Usually quite a popular one. Big Day Out, which is the Middle Earth, on the 22nd of June. That's pretty cool, to see a Middle Earth event.
Yeah, it really is, actually.
There's still got the X-Wing events running up there. And then, again, we mention this each time, but the Roll Dice Gaming is almost upon us now. So that's the 6th of July. Must be the 6th and 7th, surely.
Yeah, it's a whole weekend.
Yeah.
Crikey, that's not far away now. That's only a month.
No, it's really close, really close. So, July the 14th, Warhammer Underworld's Night Vault Q3 Championship, also at big. And July the 22nd, Super Saga Tournament, The Age of Magic. So, This is this is the new and improved saga with the extra stuff in. So, and then there is a Kings of War tournament on the 27th of July.
Cool.
So that's sort of a month preview for Big, and then Terra Games. So this is down in Newton Abbot. Really worth visiting Terra Games. Not that it isn't worth visiting Big, of course it is. However, I don't get to go to Terra very often. I've been there once and was really impressed, particularly if you want to play like a role-playing game or something. They've got a room specifically set up for that. In fact, they might even have two. And that was quite inspirational and has given me some thoughts about a large garden and a log cabin kit. It's part of my future. Well, £10,000, mate. You get one with 4 rooms. It's, yeah.
Oh, it's just £10,000.
Yeah, well, it's only money.
Actually, really, for like an extension on the house, that's not bad.
No, exactly. So, Terranian Open War is on tomorrow. So you'll have to get your skates on for that.
But tomorrow will be like after we've recorded. Before we've recorded.
You will have to get your DeLorean out to go for that. That's fine though. You know, we can do it. Science fiction lovers, all of us. Core set pre-releases. Now, you're going to have to bear with me. You can tell I'm just reading off, because I have no idea what core set that is. Do you know, Ben?
No. Nope.
Magic the Gathering. There you go. Core set pre-release, Magic the Gathering. Anybody that's into Magic the Gathering will have been like, what an idiot. At that point.
Oh, talking of Magic the Gathering, they're doing a film. A series, actually.
A series, yeah.
That's quite exciting, isn't it?
That is quite exciting, because I do like... I read a couple of books set in Ravnica.
Really?
And, yeah, and they were really good. Really liked them. So, yeah,
That's quite cool. I'm more excited now than I was when I saw it. I was kind of mixed excitement, mixed gutted that it wasn't the Mortal Realms, but, you know, can't win every battle.
No, it'll come. It'll come one day. When it's like 3 big brands in the world, like Coca-Cola, Lego, and Games Workshop. That'll be it then, won't it?
Coca-Cola? Pepsi, man. Come on.
No, dude. No. Do you know what happened? I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. This is dreadful. I went to one of those Coca-Cola vending machines where the little arm comes up and takes it.
Yeah.
Right? I put my money in. This happened today. And I pressed the buttons for a bottle of Fanta. Definitely. And the bloody thing went up and took a bottle of cherry cola. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you're taking the mick. What is this? So, yeah. I wasn't impressed by that.
No.
But anyway,
no.
So that's Terra Games. So, let's, you go now.
Yeah, I'm going to do Curtain Games. Curtain Games is up in Crediton, near Exeter. Fantastic venue. Running some really superb events. They've also got a role-playing room, so it seems to be like a thing that's sort of all modern, forward-thinking venues are doing, because actually board gaming and role-playing are finding their feet just as much as wargaming is as well. So it's a really cool place.
Yeah.
With like a great kind of loft to do all their events in, and a podcasting studio if you fancy doing that. But they have been running some pretty cool events this weekend, actually, Dan. So there's been Learn to Play the new Star Wars Outer Rim game by Fantasy Flight Games, which I got to be honest, I didn't know anything about until I read that about half an hour ago. And also the Age of Sigmar Slow Growth Forbidden Power campaign started on the 9th, which will be tomorrow when we're recording this, but the Sunday before this is released. So that's quite interesting. And then going through, we've got the Warhammer Conflict 4, Catonian Conflict 4, which is a Warhammer 40k tournament on the 22nd of June. Keep Calm and Reroll, a Star Wars Destiny League, which is on the 28th of June. And then Star Wars Destiny Infinite and Standard tournaments on the 29th, so a little weekend of that then. On July the 6th, an Age of Sigmar 6-team Challenge 2. And then July the 13th, the Catacombs of Curtain, which is the Warhammer Underworlds tournament. So they run really good Warhammer Underworlds stuff, established very quickly, quite a regular group of guys that go and do it. And Marcus, one of our guys who turns up to painting night every week with us, goes and loves it every time. So if you're in the area and like Underworlds, that's a really good place to go for it. Keep Calm and Read All. The Destiny League continues on June the 28th. I've already done that one, sorry. So July 20th is Curtain Games Star Wars Legion Rally Point Qualifier. So their Legion stuff has been sort of getting headway as well, hasn't it, Dan? They're quite into their Star Wars stuff, is Curtain.
Yeah. Well, I think also, like, Curtain obviously you're correct. And that's great. But the Star Wars stuff is designed with that kind of event play in mind, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep, it is. Yeah, so, Barb's Model and Games is the next one I'm going to shout out, which are running increasingly more tournaments for Age of Sigmar and 40k. And they will be running 1k organised 40k game play on the Sunday before this is released as well. So there's no future ones planned. They seem to be sort of planned and then done. But they are really good fun, apparently. So really nice atmosphere, really welcoming, really light-hearted, and just a bit of joy. So if you are local to Red Ruth, that might well be your most local games venue, really. So worth keeping an eye on, their webpage to see what's coming up. And that's Barb's. Okay, so Dark Star Games, which is down underneath the Jury's Inn in Plymouth.
Yep,
that's right, isn't it? Yep. So near the bombed out church. So tomorrow they're running a Trial of Champions, which is for Warhammer Champions, which loads of people play that now, actually, don't they?
Yeah.
They seem to sell out of the boxes of cards. That's on the Sunday before. So July the 7th is Darkstar Free Age of Sigmar event, and July the 21st is their 40k tournament. So, one for each of the two.
Did you say free?
Free.
As in the number, or free?
Free. As in no cost.
Oh.
The only thing you need to pay for is the table hire, which is £5.50. So not entirely free. It's a 2,000 point Age of Sigmar event. The pack will be released a few weeks before the event. So it seems like a nice sort of relaxed kind of thing. So not a proper tournament, but something to get involved in if you're into Age of Sigmar and just fancy a bit of competitive play, I should think. And there we go. That's our rundown of the local events. Obviously, we're smashing our way through the national ones now, the big ones. So since we've recorded this, or since we last recorded, you've had the South Coast GT, haven't we?
We have.
Which, by the sounds of the Pro Painting podcast, was really cool. And Bobo, of course, which almost took the title for most the biggest Age of Sigmar event, but didn't quite make it. Just saying. So Clint still holds that one. Which is a nice segue into our new section, Dan. Pudding Review.
Pudding reviews. So
you can hear the energy come back into Dan's voice.
Yeah, well, I do love pudding. So this week's review is regarding the Tim Tam. So the Tim Tam. The Tim Tam, all the way from Australia, bought by Clint over to the 2P specifically for a detailed and in-depth review of the product. So, firstly, the packaging. It's brown. And it has the words Tim and Tam on it. So it does actually succeed in telling you that it's a Tim Tam and that it's likely to be chocolate inside.
It's a bit boring, though, I thought.
It is a bit boring. It is a bit boring, and it doesn't have made in Cornwall, so it's automatically a bit more shit than other stuff. So I'm sorry about that. But that being aside, when you get past that slightly disappointing exterior,
the Aldi packaging,
yeah, you what was it you said to me? You see the item, and in appearance, you think
it's a penguin. What's the big deal about it? It's just a penguin.
Yeah. But then you eat it.
It is not a penguin.
Oh my days! So what I can talk about is the experience of eating an entire packet within 10 minutes, because they were flipping lovely.
They really were.
They were. The chocolatey, biscuity goodness. Oh my goodness. I know why people emigrate now.
Yeah, well, it's worth pointing out that they look identical to a penguin. This has got the 2 biscuits. It's got the creamy stuff that goes between the 2 biscuits, and then they're covered in chocolate in the same way that a penguin is, but taste in no way like a penguin does. Absolutely yummy.
I think perhaps they're made of real chocolate, unlike a penguin.
Yeah, that's probably true. I actually was much better behaved and saved half the packet for my wife and kids.
Did they make it to your wife and kids?
They absolutely did not.
No.
They got home. In fairness, they made it home. And then Joe was like, what's this packet here? And I was like, that's Tim Tams. Clint gave me those. Were you not going to give me any? No, I was not. They were for me.
So, hang on. They made it home?
Yep.
When did you eat them?
That evening.
Yep. What, in front of her?
No. She was just doing something else.
Oh.
That's just terrible, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So shall we rate them then? So appearance, I'm going to give it a solid 3.
Yeah.
Out of 10.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm going to agree with that. A 3.
3 out of 10.
Yeah, they wouldn't stand out, would they?
No, flat out. If they were on a shelf, I'd miss them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, considering packaging is purely supposed to do that job, I think a 2.
Ooh. I mean, if you put them on the shelf in this country, you'd buy the penguin because it looks better.
You would.
And you'd be wrong.
And you'd know what it was.
Yeah. So 2.5 for packaging out of 10.
Right, okay.
Originality, I think 5 because they're basically a penguin in every other way.
Yeah, but which came first?
Ooh, don't know. I'm still going to stick with 5.
Okay.
Because it's just 2 biscuits with some cream and it's like a bourbon with a coat.
Yeah, but equally, you could describe it as a bourbon taken to the next level.
Spinal Tap bourbon. Oh, that's the one. Yeah. Spinal Tap bourbon. Taste, I'm going to give it a solid 9.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's only to leave space, just in case.
Yeah. Yeah, well, in case there's a Tim Tam, another version, like with marshmallow or something thrown into the mix.
I'm thinking something along the lines of like, a giant Oreo ice cream cookie with a Tim Tam in the middle.
Okay. Yeah, I could. No, I can't see that.
No. But it'd be good though.
Yeah, it would be good. Yeah, well, I can see you getting an Oreo cookie ice cream and just smushing a Tim Tam into the middle of it. Cool. There we go. That's my rate. Solid score there, I think, on taste. Taste just won it. Absolutely amazing, them.
Yeah, they are. Anybody that is listening, obviously Clint has already done so, but anyone that is listening and has ready access to Tim Tams and would like to donate some to the 2P's cause, please do get in contact. We talk a lot about Patreon. Well, actually, we don't. We have talked about Patreon a bit, and we're very grateful for it. they definitely need to do some form of Tim Tam Patreon.
Yes. What we could do is sort of inundate Clint with orders of Tim Tams. Ship them over in crates. Yeah.
Oh, do you know what? I haven't looked that up. I'm going to look that up. I might be able to just ship a whole crate of them.
Anyway, while Dan's doing that, we need to decide on a pudding/biscuit confectionery to send over to Clint for him and the rest of the Heralds of War team to trial and give us a vote, a score.
Well, we have done.
Oh, have you sent them over already?
No, but we've made a decision.
Oh, yes, we have. Yeah, Tunnock's tea cakes are heading your way, Clint.
Well, we need to ask him for his address first.
Yeah, that's true. We'll work it out.
Shall we just send them to Clint, Australia?
10 Pendavy Road.
No.
Right. Finally, in our community section, most important part for us actually, is our patrons. We have a little Patreon set up just for people who want to contribute to help us with the running cost of the podcast, which is things like equipment that we need, and the ridiculous cost of some of the subscriptions. And we really, really super appreciate everyone who contributes to that. And we are working on ways to give something back to you guys. So ear to the ground.
Did we agree that I shouldn't just call it the Tim Tam Fund?
Yeah, we did agree that because it's ridiculous. But
okay,
if anyone fancies contributing to a Patreon to supply us with Tim Tams for the rest of the year, then we're not going to be too upset about that either. Right, Dan, shall we head over into the Middle Earth?
Yes.
Unless you're still looking up where to get Tim Tams from.
No, well, the phone plays havoc with the thing, doesn't it? So
yeah. Well, I'll see you on the other side. Hi guys, and welcome to Middle Earth, which we don't normally do. We do it every other time, which is actually a really, really long time nowadays, because it's a month apart, so it's every 2 months, which is a bit of a shame. But nonetheless, here we are, we're talking about Middle Earth, and I have to say, Dan, that at Warhammer Fest, the Middle Earth seminar was my absolute favourite out of all of them. It was really, really good. The energy that was in there was a clear, like, genuine love for the universe and what they were doing. And we spoke about with with Tom and Dan after the event, the speed of which they seem to have got this next release sort of round done is quite ridiculous. I think he was given a week or 2 weeks to write the book.
Yeah.
Which is insane. But I mean, it's not like it's just come out in isolation. There's some significant, releases coming with it, I think, for a book. And all at once. It's not like the Pelennor Fields where they were kind of spread out. We found out about them, drip fed them, really, weren't we? Over quite a period of time. With this one, there isn't. So, for those who haven't got a clue what I'm talking about, it's the Scouring of the Shire, which is not really done in the films. It is in the books. Games Workshop have done a Scouring of the Shire box sets before with a lot of the models were done for it, including Sharko and the Ruffians and a couple of the Sharky, sorry, and the Ruffians and a couple of the Hobbits. But now there's a whole book with an absolute metric ton of scenarios in there, from the sort of events that happened in the Scouring of the Shire, which is where Saruman basically sort of goes to the Shire and tries to burn it to the ground, and does quite a successful job actually. So what have we got release-wise? We've got the book, which looked really cool when they were previewing it at Warhammer Fest, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Hobbit models, all of which look really, really good. And
they do, don't they? They're really nice.
Different, and they've all got characters, as in they're properly developed characters, either ones that were mentioned in the book, or as in the Lord of the Rings book, or actually some that they've kind of made up to fill a gap, that have done so in a really kind of conscientious way. So obviously they can't just make up Tolkien characters. Games Workshop work alongside House of Tolkien with a lot of the stuff they do, and obviously New Line Cinema as well. But with the Scouring of the Shire, this is an area outside of New Line Cinema, isn't it, Dan? So
yeah,
it's it will be working alongside the House of Tolkien. And then 3 ruffian characters, which I think are great. If nothing else, they're great just fantasy models for role-playing games or whatever. And then finally, for that release, there's what I mentioned earlier, just absolutely blew my mind when I saw it. Was the Hobbit Hole?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the Hobbit Hole, Dan?
I think it's ace. I think it's really cool to have a piece of scenery that encourages a bit of cutting up some foam, and it
getting stuck in,
and just it's just good because it does the awkward bit for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does the detail work.
So I think I just think that's excellent, mate.
So as far as I'm aware, the pack itself is the door section, which is quite a wide bit with the door, a little kind of circular window, a bit of brickwork and what have you. 2 chimneys of various sizes, and 2 windows. I would, it would be really cool if they did add-on packs without the door. So if you wanted to make a really big Hobbit Hole,
yes,
you didn't have duplicate doors. But then I suppose you could do little tiny Hobbit Holes with just the door, I guess. But that would be my only thought about it. But I'm absolutely in love with them. If you have a chance to go on the Warhammer community page and look at the article where essentially they've given these kits to a bunch of people in the studio and what they made with those kits, that is a really cool just hobby article in its own right, even if you don't like Lord of the Rings. But if you don't like Lord of the Rings, what is wrong with you? You need help. So yeah, there's that. And then what probably one of my character which I haven't really seen before. I always get these names pronounced wrong, but Dearwain, the chief of the King's Knights, so the head of the Huskarls, effectively. I'm so glad he's got a model now, because I always felt it was a bit of a shame that he was missed out in the films.
Yes.
I know why they did it, because it's really hard in the films, in a film, to have characters which have a lot of characters, and they're trying to bring it, focus it down onto a couple that were figureheads, and the standard bearer, whose name I've forgotten. Help me out with that one, Dan. Gamling.
Gamling, that's right, yeah.
Gamling, the standard bearer, fit the kind of, as an easy option to have the standard bearer and the leader of the knights all in one sort of, fell swoop. But I'm really glad now the Games Workshop have made a separate model for this guy, because he's quite a key part in the films, in a sort of subtle backgroundy kind of way. So yeah, absolutely. And he's a nice model as well. Another great horse, which sounds like a weird thing to say, but I've always felt one of the things that characterised Lord of the Rings was the horses.
Yes, definitely.
So it's good to see. And finally, the return of Golfimble.
Who's Golf? Oh, the goblin.
Big fat goblin with a silly helmet that's rides the wagon on foot. He's been re-released. It's made to return. The fearsome goblin warlord killed by Bandabras, the bull roarer, took place in the Battle of Greenfields, and his decapitated head was inadvertently responsible for creating the sport of golf after it flew 100 yards and rolled down a rabbit hole. Just a lovely bit of Lord of the Rings trivia there. But yeah, he's back. I have to be honest, it's nice that he's got a model, but I'm not a fan of it.
Is he in the film?
He was created, I think, for the film, yeah, but never actually got seen.
Oh, right.
I've seen pictures of him. There's a lot of characters that were filmed, were cast, equipped. I think most famously the twin brother, the twin children of
Elrond.
Elrond. They were cast armoured and shot scenes as well, but they were taken out. Again, because they felt there was too many characters for people to follow.
Oh, right, okay.
I got a feeling Glorfindel was as well, but they decided to take him out because it confused the issue and merged his part into Arwen. A lot of that goes on. I mean, I can understand why in a film, because actually, when people are in armour, they can all start to look the same.
Yes, yeah.
When they've got their helmets off, then you can start to recognise faces. But then, if they're only taking their helmet off every fourth scene, you're like, is that the other guy, or which guy's that one? Because I've forgotten. People, I think it would have put a lot of people off. Is what my thinking is.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a quick one.
Yeah.
I suppose I think as we're doing it monthly, I might add on a little an Into the Wilds as well, if that's all right, Dan. Right, guys, sorry, we had to pause it there because Hannah's just gone a little crazy, having a bit of a wail. So Dan's gone off to help out, and he's left me to finish off the episode, if that's all right. So sorry. I'd like to mention quickly the announcement of a new game that I'm really excited about, because it is another computer game conversion that I have been obsessed with since I first played Morrowind quite a while back now, when I was a teenager. And it is Modiphius, who are a fantastic company, did a great job with Fallout, have gone and produced a Skyrim game, which they've sort of dropped a couple of models on us recently. So a few of the Imperial Guard and a few of the Stormcloaks, which are a couple of the factions, and a few of the sort of undead characters as well from that game, and also the lead character, or the main character, which is the character that you play in the game. They've done the sort of feature model for that too. I don't know a great deal about it, other than I like the look of the models, but it's going to be one to watch for me. So if you're interested in Skyrim and you haven't heard about that, and you like miniature wargaming, which I'm assuming you do because you're listening to us ramble on every month or so, then that might be worth checking out. And I think we'll close up the episode there. Thank you very much for listening. Like Dan said earlier, we are going to be looking at reevaluating the situation every month. If things are able to give us the space and time to go back to 2 weekly, then that really genuinely is our intention, because we prefer to do it that way, to be honest, even though the work rate is a little higher. There's so much to talk about that if we leave it a month, we almost certainly miss stuff, and we enjoy doing it. So many thanks for listening. Final thanks to all our awesome patrons for supporting us and allowing us to do this. And a couple of times this year, it genuinely has allowed us to continue recording the episodes, because there's been a lot of problems with kit and things like that. So thank you very much. And if you want to follow us, we're on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at the 2P's podcast. We do YouTube stuff, which is largely ported over episodes from Podbean, which is our primary platform, but we also do a couple of videos every now and again when the mood takes us, although we are hoping to increase that as we get better at videoing and stuff. And we have slightly better environments than my skanky old shed. So if you want to chat, come over and see us in one of those. If you want to get stuck in with our hobby forum on Facebook, where we're running the competitions, then if you head to our main Facebook page in the community area or linked groups area, it's right in there, and we would love to have you there to join in. Thanks for listening, guys, and we will catch you next month. All the best.